Hey everyone, welcome back to another chess video. I'm actually kind of excited for this one. This is a fun little one we have here. So this one is a chess personality quiz. I mentioned it a few weeks ago when I did the video on what openings to choose, and it's a really nice resource. It's been a few years since I've taken this quiz, so I think it'll be kind of fun. I've actually had a lot of fun, cool chess things lately. I actually played my first Untitled Tuesday just earlier this week. I played an over-the-board chess tournament, which is USCF rated, and I also played in 2 Blitz arenas during International Chess Day, so that was really cool. So yeah, this is just a cool little extension of that. Have fun, hang out. Been so busy, haven't even shaven. Can't even. I don't know if you can tell. I'm made myself a little small on the screen there because I wanted to show the quiz. So yeah, it's been a fun time lately. Personality quiz, fun, casual, hanging out, and we can see what my personality for chess is. And you can do the same. If you want, you can follow along. I'll leave the link to this quiz in the video description, and you can actually go move by move, as I go, and go question by question, or you can watch me do it and then take it yourself. Doesn't really matter, it's up to you. But let's get into it. So I'm kind of excited for this. So 20 question quiz, looks like it's not timed, which is good, so then I can kind of talk through it here. So let's see, so we have this chess position here. It says, which side would you rather play in the following position, black to move? Okay, so the first thing here is I need to count the material. So it looks like we both have a queen, we both have 2 rooks. They have 4 minor pieces, I only have 3, so they're up by a minor piece. And counting the pawns, they have 6, and we have 7. So it looks like black is actually up 2 points of material. This is an interesting, imbalance here, because I'm sure myself years ago, I probably would have taken black and been like, I'm up material, I'll hang on to this, I'm fine with that. Nowadays, I'm not actually so sure. I think I'd actually prefer white, because if we look at it, this bishop on e7 here is pinned, and black's going to have a hard time castling. And maybe this is roughly equal if they can try and hang on, but I mean, all of white's pieces looks really nice. All of them are really active, especially our rook on e1 on the open file. I actually think I prefer white here, even though they're down a bit of material, which is a cool difference. When I first took this quiz a long time ago, give a little backstory to this, the very first time I took it, it was many years ago, about 6 years ago, and I used to play 1e4 back then. I played the Scotch game, and I think I got Vladimir Kramnik as a technician the first time I did this quiz. And then years after that, I took this again, and I got Mikhail Botvinnik. I don't remember I think it was still technician. I'm not really sure. It's many years ago. And I thought, both of them were pretty accurate to my playstyle and how it changed over the years. And then I took the quiz again shortly after with a friend. I got Botvinnik again, and I thought, this is a pretty accurate quiz. It's fun. And now it's been probably at least 2-3 years since then. I've changed my repertoire since then. Back then when I got Botvinnik, I used to play e4, e5 with the black pieces. Now I play the Carol Khan, so things are a little different. Still play the Queen's Gambit, but overall, I've changed a lot as a chess player. So I'm curious to see how many answers I remember that are different, because I don't remember what I chose the very first time I did this, but I'm sure I would have taken the material, probably taken black. Here I think white. I actually prefer white's position, so I'll say A for this one. So question 2. When you play in tournaments, do you usually score with consistent results, or do you often perform on the extremes, either really well or really poorly? I'd say I have pretty consistent results. Some people, it's an emotional thing and they're really into it or really not. I think mine are fairly consistent, so I'll say A for that one. So next question, question 3. Which best describes how you think about this position in the Sveshnikov Sicilian? So what makes this a Sveshnikov is this pawn to e5 here in the Sicilian. Sometimes people argue that this d6 pawn is a bit backwards and they've given up the d5 square. So that's a common assessment of this position. But I think black has some play for it. I kind of like this square. I think white is kind of nice, but let's see the position. Oh, that was actually the question. What best describes this position? Okay, so yeah, sort of A. I mean, I sort of said that black has given up the critically important d5 square. I mean, white already has a nice outposted knight for it. And yeah, it's also true that black does have a lot of potential counterplay with the bishop pair and the f5 pawn break. But I still really like white's position here. This d5 is a really nice square. We've already got a nice outpost on it. I actually think I prefer the d5 square again. So here, I think that we'll go with A. So question 4, which statement is closer to the truth? I bring my best game when facing opponents I dislike, or B, I don't really notice my opponent. I'm gonna say B. I don't really pay attention too much. I mean, especially over the board, I'll take a look at their mannerisms and little psychology, things like that. But in general, I play my game regardless, and, it doesn't really matter who I'm playing. I don't think there's anyone I really dislike playing, but, the opponent doesn't matter too much. You just play your game. So I'll say B, don't really notice them. So question 5, black has just played G5. Your first instinct is to definitely retreat the bishop. Bishop G3, that's definitely my preference here. Some people might consider sacrificing the knight on G5. Yeah, I wouldn't. The thing is, when black is advanced with H6, that's weakened their king side. And now that they play G5, this is committal. That's a positional thing they cannot reverse. Pawns cannot move back. Their king is now permanently weakened. And we can exploit this positionally. We don't have to sacrifice and go all in, taking on G5 and trying to open up their king more. Their king is already open. So I play bishop G3, play it positional, and just play a slow grind from there, and their king looks very silly that's exposed. So definitely retreat to G3. Do I play gambits? I do not. I will say no. In rated games, I am, pretty solid, I think. I don't really like gambits too much. Reminds me of a line from Gata Kamsky. Someone asked him if he plays gambits, and he says, "I don't offer pawns, I take them." Really savage. Similar mindset. I prefer the solid main lines. Don't really play gambits. Queen's Gambit, that's kind of a misnomer name because it's not really a true gambit. We can't really get the pawn back, so not counting that one. I'll say no, I don't play gambits. Question 7. How would you think about whether or not to take on G5 as white? A is I would evaluate the placement of the pieces to decide if the attack seemed promising, or B, I would calculate several variations to decide if white's attack is strong enough. This one's interesting because I do a little bit of both. I think it's probably B. I think that's closest. Like, I sort of kind of calculate a few loose things, and then I kind of go with it, which is roughly my intuition, but I don't really look at the placement of the pieces. Like, some people, it works, go with whatever your mind works with. Every player is different. I just kind of calculate the few loose candidate lines and then kind of get a feel for how my position is there. So, yeah, I would say B. That's how I would decide on this. So, question 8, under serious time pressure, you are more likely to either A, miss a tactic, or B, move pieces aimlessly. Definitely miss a tactic, I would say. I don't really move my pieces aimlessly, even in time pressure. I would probably just miss a tactic if, there's some time scramble. So question 9, which of these ideas do you prefer for white? White should trade bishops and put a strong knight on D4, which is a square here, which will prevent any counterplay from black, doubling rooks on the C file, defending C2. Yeah, okay. Or B, white should push D4, temporarily misplacing black's dark squared bishop, and then start an attack on the king side with F5 where the black king sits alone. Definitely my intuition here was the first one. I would definitely want to trade bishops and then use this score for my knight right away. I know some players would be very aggressive. I mean, they have the queen and rook on this file. They might try and play F5, open up lines in their opponent's king. It's not really my play style. I'd feel very comfortable trading bishops here, getting my knight to a really nice square, the D4 square, and with no counterplay from the opponent, I think I'm in just really good position, where I can slowly outplay them. So yeah, I would definitely trade bishops here, and this is A. So I start the game out with D4. That is what I usually play. Would you rather your opponent play D5 or F5? So D5 is super solid stuff. F5 is known as the Dutch defense. I would rather have them play the Dutch. Because F5, objectively, I don't think it's as solid. It's a good opening, I'm sure a lot of good, strong players can use it, but I think D5 is objectively stronger, and I would want them to play the weaker of the moves, if they're my opponent. So definitely F5. Even if Magnus Carlsen I was playing, I prefer him to play F5, and I figure the small objective difference, I'll take any advantage I can get. So you have, in this question 11, you have been ahead a pawn for most of the game, but after tough resistance from your opponent, you only have 5 minutes left in this position. Should you play on or offer your opponent to draw? This sounds really similar to the position I would get. Some tough game, been ahead most of the game, and then I get low time. Yep, this sounds very reminiscent. We have 4 pawns, they have 3, we both have a knight, so it's interesting endgame. Yeah, I'm definitely pushing for the win here. A was push for a win and B was offer a draw. Yeah, we're not offering a draw. We only have 5 minutes, but that's plenty of time for here. We're in an end game. I'm definitely going to push for the win. We have an extra pawn. You know, they're really going to want them to have a draw. Like, they would wish for us to offer a draw. You know, they're down a pawn. If someone offered me a draw and I was black, I'd snap accept that. Definitely not helping the opponent. We're pushing for the win. We're playing A here. Which statement comes closest to your feelings? Either A, it's always a joy to be paired with someone you've crushed in the past, or B, the odds of winning are slightly higher against opponents one has previously beaten. So it's definitely B. It's slightly higher. You know, you can actually put your, ratings, between you and your opponent into an ELO calculator, and you can actually calculate your winning percentage. It's not 100%. Just because you're the higher rated player doesn't mean you're necessarily going to win. In fact, you'll be lucky to win 3 out of 4 games. If you're closer rated, maybe you would even be like 4 out of 5 or something. If it's different, some difference that's sort of close. Maybe 3 out of 5, slightly better. It depends how far apart they are. But yeah, it's a statistical thing. You're never guaranteed to win. You just have slightly better chance if you're higher rated. So definitely B. With plenty of time on your clock, what would you do in this position? So either trade on e6 and then play rook d7. Okay, yeah, taking their bishop and then rook d7. Okay, because the endgame is good for white, or redirect the knight to c3 via a4. So kind of retreating the knight back to preserve the better minor piece. So all that is A. That's kind of like 2 options, but either of those would be A. And then B, invest some serious time calculating whether knight captures e6 achieves anything concrete. Yeah, definitely A appeals to me. Out of the options, I'd probably even trade on e6. And the reason I do that is because, by trading here, they recapture, I play rook d7. I'm already threatening to bring my other rook into play. And I have the open file, they don't. So this is barely even much to calculate, I think, at least from my intuition, kind of intuitive standpoint. I'm very happy trading here. The only drawback is that in these types of endgames where both sides have 2 rooks, statistically they're a little bit high as far as the draw percentage. If there was only 1 rook for each, then it's much more likely to be 3 results. It could be a win, loss, or a draw, so a lot more back and forth. But with 2 rooks, it's very likely that it could be a draw, especially if they double rooks on the 7th or 2nd rank. That's very common. And then even if you're up a pawn or 2, it doesn't really matter because they perpetual check. Or at the very least, they keep the king restricted. So although this might be a little bit draw heavy statistically, I would say I would trade on e6 and then take control of the open file right away. So that would be A. What do you think of the famous saying, chess is 99% tactics? So you either agree or disagree. Oh, I have some strong words and feelings for this one. Definitely disagree. I believe that saying was from Richard Teichmann, who is a strong player, to give him some credit, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, charity of interpretation. I'm going to say he was just using hyperbole. He was exaggerating for a fact. I don't think he really meant 99%. If he means tactics are important, then sure. But literally 99%, that's a joke. Not even close. I mean, there's positional chess, there's openings, there's endgames. Maybe you would be closer if you said patterns were 99% chess. And even then, I don't think patterns are really that much. If you were to think of an average chess game, it's 40 moves. So if both players start the game, say 1 e4, e5, or 1 e4, c5, you play Sicilian, or whatever, where was the tactic, right? That was 1 move. Average chess game is 40 moves, not 100, so, it's not 1% even. Already there, we've basically disproven chess is 99% tactics. There's no tactic after the first move, so yeah, that's a completely silly thing if you take it literal. Chess is not 99% tactics. How do you feel about this wild gambit line for black? White to move. Okay, so let's see. So we both have a queen. They capture one of our rooks, this knight here. They have 4 minor pieces. We have 4 and pawns. We have 6 pawns, and they have 7. So yeah, so we're down a lot of material here when this knight grabbed our rook. Our king is also really far in the open. So yeah, so do I like this gambit? No, this is crazy. Yeah, A is no way am I trying to lose. Yeah, that seems pretty accurate to how I feel. B, I like my chances and will definitely mess my opponent. No, this is crazy. No way. Definitely saying A on this one. Not a chance. I'm sure the computer's probably going to say this is roughly equal or some crazy engine line just because they're not going to give a one-sided thing in a quiz here. But I mean, this is ridiculous. Our king is so open. It's not even the material. I mean, we are so far from castling. They already have an attack. You know, they have their queen kind of active and their knight is active. And maybe they can get developed. I don't know. This is just an absurd position. I don't feel comfortable as black here. I would like this as white, but I'm not going to take this as black. So, yeah, it's A. I'm not trying to lose here. Question 16. After losing a game, have you ever broken anything or yelled something out loud? Have I broken something? No, definitely not. Have I yelled after a game? I don't think so either. I get kind of disgusted maybe with my, you know, or some kind of disappointed thing like that. But I don't actually break stuff. I don't rage. I don't Eric Hansen chuck chairs. You know, I don't do that kind of stuff. You gotta have self-control. You know, gotta prevent tilt. You gotta be in control of your emotions. You know, if you're treating this like a professional would, you know, you can't let the emotions get the best of you. So no, I don't think I've done anything like that. Certainly haven't broken anything. White to play, and so they have to castle either kingside or queenside. Okay, so let's see. We have some options here. Both of them look interesting. Kingside looks safer in the sense that, you know, you just get castle kingside and then you kind of play your own game. Queenside, I kind of like more. Because I feel like I might be able to play like h3 at some point. They might trade. And then I have an option between taking back with my knight or opening up the g file, getting some kind of attack on their king. This is actually kind of a cool position. I like queenside. And the reason I like queenside is because when each side castles in the opposite direction, you have to think which pawn storm is going to come first. Because oftentimes castling the opposite flank leads to some kind of pawn storm, you know, by both sides. And so here, I think if I was black, and, you know, white castle queenside, I think I'd be in a little bit of trouble. Because normally, I would want to play like c5, and rip open the position, attack in the center, get an open c-file, start looking down at this queen and king. You know, the king would be on c1 if it castled this way. But the problem here is this knight is actually kind of silly. This knight is misplaced. You know, if we're going to do that, they would really like to have this c5 available right away. They wouldn't have to waste time moving this knight just to try and get their pawns going and open up the position. So that's going to cost them a little bit of time. I think for myself here, because their knight is there, I think I'd rather go queenside. Maybe if their knight was, you know, knight b to d7, ended up that way, maybe then it'd be a little closer. Maybe then I'd go kingside, not really sure. But yeah, I really like queenside here. I think our pawns are going to get rolling way faster than theirs. So h3, maybe g4 even, you know, who knows. We'll get some kind of pawn storm going. So yeah, we're castling queenside in this one. So question 18, which is closer to the truth? I get excited or nervous before a game, or I don't worry about prizes, money, titles, or honors while playing. I just play my game. This is sort of both. Like, I'm not really sure. Because I do kind of focus, you know, on my own game, and I try not to let it get to me too much, but I get a little excited, I think, when I'm about to play a chess game. Chess is exciting, you know, you have fun with it. Maybe a little bit of nervousness if it's like an important event, but I think more of a like little excitement. You know, you kind of hype yourself up a little bit before the game. So yeah, I'd say I get a little excited. I will say for people who are really nervous, especially when you play over the board, that's normal for the first few times you play over the board because it's such a different experience, a different atmosphere, you know. So there's a few things that you can do. One tip I like to tell people is literally sit on your hands because that'll train you to not move so quickly as oftentimes new players do when they get really kind of nervous or excited, you know, during a game. And that'll just kind of help them slow down, you know, adjust to the longer time controls of over the board usually. But I think as most people gain experience, you get a little less nervous. But even myself, I get kind of excited and nervous before I play. So yeah, I don't think that really goes away entirely. I definitely say A there. Another thing that you could do too is, you know, if you're really nervous, something that I think was Mikhail Tal, you know, a crazy tactics person, sacrifices queen or something. Tal said that one thing that really helped his chess was when he realized that his opponent was just as nervous as he was. And if you're playing Tal, of course he'd be nervous, you know, but I thought that was kind of funny. So, you know, think of those things if you're at your over-the-board tournament. You're a little nervous, realize, you know, it's okay, it gets better with experience, you know, but everyone there is just as nervous as you are. So, yeah, I'd say A. I get a little excited or nervous before I play. Question 19. How do you come up with a plan in this position for white? So A is consider the strengths and weaknesses of black's position and decide where my pieces feel best. Or B, I would calculate some line for white and see how strong various possibilities are. The thing is, A just kind of screams Jeremy Silman. International Master Jeremy Silman wrote How to Reassess Your Chess. I read the 4th edition from cover to cover. That sounds sort of like that one, where you kind of identify strengths and weaknesses and, kind of figure your dream square for your pieces. I don't know, a few years ago, back when I was reading the book, I might have said that. But if I'm going to be honest here, as I've been trying to do this whole quiz, I don't know about that. Like, I think it's B. For me, like, I would calculate some lines. Very loose lines. I'm not going to go crazy into it, get your candidate moves and such. But, like, here, there's so much pawn tension in the center. I would consider capturing on D5. I would consider capturing on F5. I would consider pushing pawn to E5. I might even consider moves like knight G5, the idea of putting more pressure on the backwards pawn on E6 here. So there's so many ideas that I would kind of look at very briefly and then kind of get an overall assessment from the position once I kind of calculate a few and kind of feel my way around the position. So yeah, I think I'm calculating a little bit. I'm probably saying B for this one. So question 20, last question of the quiz here. Which is harder for you to do? Either A, identify my advantages in building a plan, or B, trade a good position for a strong attack. Yeah, I think it's B. That one's a little difficult for me sometimes. Like, I have a really nice position. I know sometimes you have to convert it and cash through in an attack, but, sometimes it's hard. You have so many nice positional advantages, you don't really want to trade them, just for one thing. It's good. You have to trade them for something concrete, but it's like once you get rid of it, you've gotten rid of it. It's like having a coupon for something and, you get this free whatever. Well, once you use the coupon, it's gone. Whereas before, it was all that potential. You had so many choices. I don't really have a problem identifying my advantages and building a plan. So, yeah, I think B is the toughest. So we'll see what we get after I click this. Like I said, I think the first time I was Kramnik personality with Technician many years ago. Then I took it 2 more times. I was Botvinnik. I don't remember what the personality frame was. I think it was still Technician, but I'm not sure. But I've changed a lot as a chess player, so I'm actually kind of curious to see who I get. So let's see. So we have Grinder personality. Anatoly Karpov. Okay. We got Karpov. I mean, that's not too bad. Definitely a positional player, so I like that. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of nice. Here they have a little sliding scale of how attacking are positional. Looks like I'm pretty positional. Not all the way over, but pretty high. I'd say it's about right. Like, sometimes they play some sharp chess, and that probably balances out a little bit. A little more aggressive than solid. Maybe. I would have thought it'd be a little more on the solid side, but maybe I am aggressive. Who knows? Intuitive, a little more than calculating. Yeah, that's about right. I kind of mostly go off intuition. And then emotional or calm. Pretty calm. Yeah, I'd say so. I think it's pretty accurate. So reading about it here, grinders are players with an unassuming style that can hide just how intent they are on winning. Yeah, that's true. I definitely play to win. They don't need to know opening theory to beat you. They don't need to have an advantage to beat you. They don't even need to have an equal position to beat you. Grinders have good positional skills and are usually at home in most endgames. Yeah, that's also true. Like, I really do like the endgames. Back when I first started, I used to be a little too much loving endgames, and I think I traded down too much, and then I would, get into an endgame, but I'd give up a lot of my advantage in the process of getting down to it. So, now I keep tension a little bit more and prevent myself from going to an endgame so quickly, but yeah, I still love endgames, even to now. So the grinder personalities are attuned to their opponent's weaknesses, which they use against them. Yep, that's true. On the other hand, they often know their own strengths and limitations pretty objectively and will make good practical decisions. It's hard to take advantage of a grinder's weakness, and you won't have much luck getting errors out of them by applying pressure. I appreciate that. Probably doesn't work too much because, fairly calm personality. So again, it's hard to get someone to crack when they're pretty calm-minded in general, which again goes back to the tilt question that kind of we were talking about before. You can't let, little things get to you. Oh, look at this, the openings. This is great. For white, play the Queen's Gambit. That's the opening I play for many years. That's my main opening. And then for black, the Caro-Kann. I used to play E5. I used to be E4, E5. A few years ago, I just switched to Caro-Kann. So I've been playing that for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years now. So wow, openings, spot on. See, this is a really accurate quiz. I really like this. So yeah, Anatoly Karpov, world champion. Can't complain there. If we got the same personality play style that he had. So yeah, this was a fun little quiz. It was good to take this again. I'm curious. Let me take a look and see what other ones there were. Because I remember there was... Okay, so there's Steinitz, Mad Scientist. Because I want to see the Kramnik one. I want to see if that one was what I remembered. Tal's Magician, yep, he certainly was. Mastermind for Alakeen, yep. Anand is a natural, yep, that's not me, but, you know, it's good to know some people have that natural talent. Magnus Carlsen, Prodigy, alright. Botvinnik is professional. See, I remembered him as technician. I thought Kramnik and him were both technician. I thought Nakamura was professional back years ago when I took this quiz. So maybe they changed the quiz a little bit. Let me see. Ivanchuk, romantic? Yeah, he is. I'd say romantic chess. If anyone is, he's probably up there. He'll play some things like sacrifice his queen. You know, not quite like Tal, but some positional flair to it. Lasker's a surgeon. Kramnik's technician. Yeah, that's the one I got the very first time. So we can see my statistics slid a little over to this side a little bit. But, you know, not too much. The only one that didn't slide over was intuitive. Mine was over here on this one. So, yeah, I've evolved as a chess player a little bit, and that sounds pretty accurate. Nimzovich, what was it, Anaconda? Okay, I mean, that sounds almost like a boa constrictor or something. That sounds more like Karpov. But, you know, I guess some different type of positional, I suppose. Fischer was assassin personality. Nakamura, barbarian. I think they added some more personalities since I maybe took this, because I took this several years ago, like I said. Maybe that's what ended up happening, but either way, I think it's really accurate, and I think it's great if they added more, you know, give a little more variety in the players and personalities, so I'm all for that. Kasparov is champion personality. Korchnoi is escape artist. Capablanca is genius. Yeah, he was a pretty gifted player. No doubt about that. Definitely ahead of his time for chess. And then we back to this one with Grinder. So, yeah, so I feel like they might have added some more. I'm not 100% sure. I'll mention down in the YouTube comments if you've taken this quiz many years ago and you think that they might have added some personalities. I'm all for it. I think it's great. You know, have a little more variety, more players, more personalities. But yeah, it's really cool to see. I've taken this so many times throughout the years, and each time I thought it was pretty accurate. Even now, Karpov, I think it's spot on, even what openings I play. So this is a really cool quiz, you know. So let me know in the comments also what personality you got. I'm curious here what personality and player you got. I mean, it's fun. It's nice hanging out with everyone, a little bit different, and I'll see you in the next chess video.